Hello everybody, I'm Madame Sensei. I teach Spanish, French, Japanese. I have a section of English language arts, and over the summer I teach Wannick Summer Health, which is very interesting. It's a whirlwind, short amount of time, cram a whole semester into 3 weeks. Now, I'm supposed to be doing what all the other summer health teachers are doing. Here's the syllabus. But it occurred to me over the last 2 years that perhaps one of the greatest challenges to our students' health is the sudden onslaught of generative AI and students not being able to recognize the difference between AI generated stuff and normal things. Okay, now my English class, they walked in the first day of this last year. Juniors in high school walked in and said, why do we even need this class anymore? Because generative AI can write all of our essays for us. And so I spent the next 9 months trying to show them the difference. This is generative AI. It's kind of bland. It's just a bunch of words stuck together. This is an actual human wrote it. It sparkles. It's interesting. It has depth. And that was very, very difficult to convey. And so I really feel like, especially when we talk about AI psychosis, this needs to be something that we address with our health students. So a couple of things I did for my English class, and then I continue it now with my health class, is KQED has a very good thing that they send out like weekly, which is Share or Beware. Just talking about misinformation that gets, peddled around, bicycled around, as we used to say. I really love this. This is the SIFT, and they come out with daily do now slides. Every week they come out with it, and my favorite thing on it is 2 truths and an AI. And he's probably on YouTube, but I'd rather do it from here because I don't get the commercials on YouTube. But all these links will be in the description. But I really like this. Rumor Guard sends out weekly, hey, this is the latest thing that's gone viral. Is it real or is it now? So that's also good. I'll put that link in the description. And of course, good old Crash Course is wonderful. Here, I'm going to send you to Wayground because if you go to Wayground, you don't get any commercials from YouTube. But Crash Course, I use to teach my students how to read laterally. That is so crucial because I feel like they just consume whatever they see online the same way they're consuming junk food. They're just not thinking about it. They're just shoving it into their mouth. They're just shoving it into their pie hole. So, I'm really seeing that this is a crucial thing to add to a health class. So getting back to AI psychosis, which is where I started thinking, oh my gosh, my students, they are talking to AI chatbots instead of to each other. And they're starting to get really dumb advice from the AI chatbots. And how many of them are going to AI chatbots for their therapy? I mean, it's a health class. We're talking about mental disorders. How many of them are trying to self-diagnose and going to generative AI? So again, whenever I make a project, I'm always thinking about the end result. What do I want my students to do with the information at the end of the day? So what do I want my students to do? Well, I want them to recognize that so-called artificial intelligence is basically just autocomplete. It's just looking for keywords. So my first thought was, well, okay, so what kind of prompt could we play with? We should go to generative AI and just noodle around with it. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That is a terrible idea. I don't want them to go to generative AI and noodle around with it because they're going to get sucked into it. How can I demonstrate that artificial intelligence is just looking for keywords? So I thought back to my childhood and I dug around a bit because everything's available on the computer, and I finally found it, the code for what is not even arguably the very first AI chatbot. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Eliza. Now, back in the day, late 1979, 1980, I'd go into Radio Shack, happily turn in my Battery of the Month Club card and get my free battery, and then I'd go to their row of TRS-80s, and the very first one, I'd type in a simple program and my name would be spread out all over the computer screen, and that was really funny. And then I'd move to the second computer, and I'd run Eliza. Now, Eliza was a really fun game, text-based, totally text-based game, and it was meant to sound like a psychiatrist. And it turns out it was just 80 lines of code, and it just drew on keywords that you would type. So I found the code. Look at this, find keyword. And I point out to my students, look, it says find keyword right there. Okay, so all the lines are just, they're trying to sound like a psychiatrist, right? Do you believe it is normal to be? And then it will add in a keyword, whatever you just typed in, okay? And then, how long have you been? And it chooses a keyword that you just typed in. And yeah, they had categories and stuff, but I'm trying to make a card game, very offline and everything. So I typed up these so that I could make cards out of it, okay? Did you come to me because you are? And then it would add the keyword. And it was a hoot, and it was a lot of fun. And it was kind of magical in 79, 80, 81. So I took those 80 lines of code and I made cards with it, okay? And because this had to be like, my students are not computers, so I just said, use a word that your partner just said, and hoping that they would plug in something random and funny, and the conversation will still make sense. And it worked. It was great. It was fun. Okay. Then after I typed in those 80 lines of code, I went to a bunch of students and I said, tell me some things that you see a lot whenever you type into generative AI. So I wound up making 3 extra cards that say, here are some steps you can take too, because all my students are like, generative AI really likes to give you the bullet points of steps. Okay, so I said, list 3 things, but hallucinate 1. And then I also have 3 cards of, all right, you got it, I will. Okay, because the student said that always happens. And then one student insisted that I put in, they were complaining that they always get a kickback of something innocuous that they wrote. Generative AI says that it's not safe for work. And I was like, okay, that's going in there. So there's 7 extra cards plus the 80 lines of code, okay? Then I was thinking, all right, so part of the problem with AI psychosis is people are getting convinced of something stupid, all right? And one of the news reports I saw, I gave a link earlier, this guy thought he had invented an entirely new form of mathematics. He thought, wow, I'm the most brilliant person in the world because my AI chatbot is telling me I'm the most brilliant person in the world. I've invented this new mathematics. So I scoured the internet again. I was going to make up my own, and I was like, nah, other people have made up better stuff than I did. So I like unnecessary inventions. Chindogu, of course, has a lot of really great stuff. There's a lot of really funny things out there, numerous websites, but these were the 2 main that I pulled from. And I just took their inventions and I put them on cards. Okay, and I colored these cards a different color than the other ones so that they don't get mixed up. Okay, so like one was a hoverbrella. It's an umbrella on a drone that follows you around. And then this one was the opposite of fingerless gloves. This was fingertip gloves, only the fingertips. This one was sponges inside your glasses. And this was avocado on a stick. It looks like underarm deodorant, but it's avocado and you can spread it on your toast, all right? So I wanted things that sounded silly. The students would know were silly. And these are the rules that I gave my students, okay? I said, find a partner. As it turns out, I have an even number of students. So this worked well because I was like, oh, what would I do if I have an odd number? Am I going to have 2 AI chatbots or am I going to have 2 humans? But anyway, find a partner. One of you is going to be the AI bot, and they got the cards that were the Eliza cards. Oops, wrong thing. You can only say what's on the cards, nothing more. So I didn't want them to make up stuff. I wanted them just to read off the cards and put in the keyword so that the students would get an idea that basically that's what generative AI does. And then the other one has the germ of an idea for an invention. It's probably a dumb idea, but... And the goal... Now I accidentally moved that down. AI chatbot using only the cards. You must convince the human that their idea is the greatest thing in the history of histories. Okay, so they had some really funny conversations. As the game went on, because this was the very, very first time I did this, I ran up to the board and I added some more rules. I was like, the AI bot, you're only saying, I had to reiterate that, you're only saying what's on the cards. Don't add anything. Don't skip cards, because sometimes I caught them trying to like shuffle through the cards, trying to find ones that they wanted. And I'm like, no. I want you to go through the cards. You can shuffle it, but that's your order then. Okay. But don't skip cards. Just go through, because I wanted them to see it's an algorithm. Okay. And then some of them were trying to do the same keyword every single time. Avocado on a stick every single time. How do you feel about avocado on a stick? When was the last time you saw avocado on a stick? And I'm like, no, you choose a new keyword every time the human says something. And the human, your only job is to be human. The humans didn't have a problem being human. It worked great. This is a very tiny class for me, only 28 students. I've been teaching this year with 39 students in my classes, 28 students, and it was so noisy. I mean, if nothing else, my kids get their social emotional learning. All right, they're learning to talk to each other. They're playing with each other. They're having a ball. They're giggling and everything. It was a very, very noisy class, but I think it worked really well. I think, reducing generative AI to its basics. This is what it is at the bottom of it. It's just autocomplete and searching for the keyword. Take what it says with a grain of salt and do your lateral reading. Check out what it says. I think it worked really great. Now, afterwards, of course, I polled the students. And I'm like, okay, tell me how I can tweak this, because this was the very, very first time we've ever done it. And, there's always a process when you create a game. Okay. It definitely needs tweaking. It was in a very, very raw form. It was good for what it was. This was my goal this year. The students, their only complaint with it was that the questions were really generic. And yeah, they were really generic because I used the ELIZA questions and I was trying to figure out how could I make it so that it was a mix and match thing where, it wouldn't really matter which invention you were talking about. There were things that the generative AI could say. So I haven't figured out how to make the questions more specific yet, but that's what the students were asking. As you listen to this, if you have ideas for how to tweak this, please let me know. If you want the cards that I've already made so that you can practice and play with your own students and come up with better ideas, let me know. I mean, this took me a long time to, I had printed out the cards and I was like, hey, I've got a TA this year. I'll have my TA cut out the cards. My TA shuffled all the cards together accidentally, not understanding my directions. And so I wound up spending an hour putting all the cards back in their sets. So I was figuring I'd have 32 students. I made 16 decks of cards. I had to separate them all out. That took like an hour of my precious, precious time. You do not need to spend all that much time. If you like this idea, let me know. And I'm more than willing to share with you. I don't know how to share on YouTube, but drop a comment on YouTube to let me know that you like this. And then come connect with me in one of these places where it's easier to share. Okay, the Minecraft Teachers Lounge, Minecraft Education Ambassadors, Roxham, Art and Spanish class, Teacher Excellence Lounge or World Language Teacher Lounge, Wayground Game Changers. All those places are easy to share in. So I also appear weekly on the podcast, Comprehend This, and I'm a happy member of NASEF. I can share with you there. So help me make this a more interesting game for the students. And, I want them to have a good sense of exactly what generative AI is after this. So thanks for watching, and hope to see you on the next one.